Yep. Inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight, it was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I have never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What kind of slump that I'm on? The slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. I'm going to burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. Broke the slump yesterday as the slump discontinues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. What's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you from Better Off Dead. Toadstool Sports. I'm never going to stop doing that. Sunday, November 16th. Thanks, guys, for hanging out hanging out last night for the NFL show. I still think turn my gain down a little bit here, actually, even though I know you guys think my mic is always too low. I'm listening to it right now, and I'm like, no, I think this is a little bit better, in my opinion, but maybe I should listen to the audience. I feel like, I don't know, no sleep. I did my video for the Europe game that's already happening and probably going to be a loser on Washington, so that was one of my NFL plays. I will reiterate the rest of my NFL plays at the end of the show. We got to get into this, man, because I have a lot of college basketball plays today, probably more than I've ever had on a Sunday before. I just can't stop myself. Hopefully college basketball continues to do all right. And then I'm going to give out 2 NBA plays. I got nothing in hockey today, which I did miss one of the hockey games, so we'll talk about that shortly. I forgot that one of the games was an early start time because it's in Sweden. So I'm pretty sick of all that BS, all this Europe BS, but whatever. Jeffrey, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. If you go back and watch the NFL show, I talked about yesterday where we were, depending on what number you got in that UC Irvine game, it was an 8-4-1 day or an 8-5 day. It was a winning day, so I'll take it. All right, let's get into today. College basketball, going to try to get through this as quickly as I can, as I usually say, which is never fast, but lots going on in college basketball here. The college basketball slate does start at noon. First, actually, right at noon, I'm going to have a play. So let's just get to it. Best bets. We're already doing it. It's the best bet segment already. Whatever. We're going to lay the points with UMBC, with Maryland, Baltimore County here against Wagner. UMBC, these are 2 bad teams, although UMBC is still the better of these 2 teams, obviously, as you can see based on the line. But I think this is a spot to fade Wagner. I know it might look easy to do because they're 0-3. They are battle-tested to a decent extent because they played VCU, Seton Hall, and Fordham. But Wagner played Seton Hall to within 7 points, and then they turned around. All these games are on the road, by the way. And then they turned around and they played Fordham to within 2 points, and those are big games because the Seton Hall one is a Big East team, and Wagner played pretty well against them. Seton Hall, though, they're down the last 2 years, and they're notorious for playing really slow, slow-paced, low-scoring games. Then Wagner turned around, and this was actually a big game for them at Fordham because Wagner is in Staten Island, and Fordham is in the Bronx. So I think Wagner does consider this to be like a little brother, big brother situation. Fordham was a 12.5-point favorite in this game, and Wagner came fairly close to winning this game. This game was within reach. Wagner was winning for the entire first half. They lost the lead. They retook it later in the game, and they were still within. I mean, it was a tied game with a few minutes left, and then they were still within 1 or 2 possessions all the way down the stretch, and they actually tied it again in the final minute and fell just short. So after Wagner did that, I think they're going to be in a hangover spot. They now have to go down to UMBC, to Maryland, Baltimore County, and of course, the one time that Wagner has played this far south at all was at VCU, and they got destroyed by VCU by 29, although VCU is obviously a lot better than UMBC, but still, Wagner has not done well when they've been away from New York, New Jersey. Those were big games for them. They do have Georgetown up next as well, so they play another Big East team. That's a potential look ahead for Wagner as well, because that's one of their remaining big conference games on the schedule. They might not be totally focused for this game, and Wagner also likes to play slow. UMBC does not. UMBC likes to play fast, so that might be a problem. If you look at the tempos for these teams that they've played, Fordham is a very slow-paced team. Seton Hall is a very slow-paced team, so those played right into Wagner's hands, basically. VCU plays fast this year, and VCU destroyed them, so the only fast-paced team that Wagner has faced this year, they got run out of the building. They played well against these slow-paced teams. Now they have to play another fast-paced team. It's all pretty much adding up for UMBC in this one, man. And it's a 4th straight road game for Wagner as well. They haven't even played at home yet. And UMBC, I thought they were in a bad spot in their last game. I gave out a lean, I think, on the show on Morgan State. Didn't give it out as a play, but Morgan State was able to cover that number against UMBC because UMBC played tough against Dayton. At Dayton. Of course, Dayton is also a slow-paced team, but Dayton is much, much better than Wagner. And UMBC, that was a big game for them, falling just short by 6 points. I thought UMBC would be in a bit of a hangover spot after that, playing on the road. Now they've had a bunch of days off. They're back home. You could argue maybe it's a little bit of a look ahead to George Washington next because that's a Baltimore, Washington area, big brother, little brother situation, but I don't really think so after UMBC knows that they didn't play well against Morgan State. I think they're going to show up. It's a really bad spot for Wagner, so we're going to lay it with UMBC in this one. No real indicators on the in the market here yet, although the total has gone down, which I don't love to see. It's a low total, so I don't love, I don't necessarily love that we're laying a favorite with a low total, but it is still basketball, and it's only a 7-point number there, so that's not horrible. But yeah, I like it. Dirty Sock, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. Hell yeah, Jeffrey had a winning day yesterday. Nice. The Washington Commanders, the Redskins, baby. They better get this done, man. Yeah, hopefully they get it done. I also decided to play Mariota in fantasy over Mahomes because Mahomes is up against Denver's defense. It's the only time where I'm probably not going to play Mahomes. I still have Mariota from the Mahomes bye week last week. He's actually been decent, and this Miami defense is terrible, so I decided to just go with Mariota. I think it was a close call because Mahomes has been really good this year, but that's what I did. Hopefully it's not going to screw me in my main fantasy league, but I am 8-2, so whatever. All right. I forgot to mention yesterday, so we have Wright State, Kent State here. There are a bunch of games being played in Sulphur Springs, West Virginia, which is some early season tournament. The Greenbrier tip-off has multiple different divisions. I forgot to mention this yesterday because I don't think I talked about any of the games yesterday. This game, both these teams I think did play yesterday. Wright State destroyed Radford in this tournament yesterday, although Radford maybe somewhat of a mediocre team, although I think that was an upset for Wright State. Yeah, Wright State pulled off a 6.5-point upset in that one. So Wright State might be up against it here against a Kent State team that's considerably better than Radford. Kent State is one of the better teams in the MAC. Kent State barely got by a pretty weak Cleveland State team yesterday. And Cleveland State, you got to think they got up for that game against Kent State because that's an Ohio rivalry sort of there. Cleveland State probably considers themselves to be a little brother to Kent State in Ohio. Although I think Wright State is actually in Pittsburgh, I think. I was going to say, I think they're in Ohio too. No, I think they're actually in Pittsburgh. But whatever. I think Kent State, the fact that they only beat Cleveland State by 7 as 11.5-point favorites yesterday and didn't do particularly well in that game, I think Kent State does turn it around after that. They didn't look that good yesterday. Wright State looked too good against Radford, so I would lean to laying it with Kent State in this one. They're up from 3.5 to 4, 75% of the tickets, 84% of the cash on them. That's not a play for me, but that is a lean in that one. Stacks, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. All right. Notre Dame and Ohio State. Interesting at 12:30 p.m. here on Fox Sports 1. Apparently, those Sulphur Springs games aren't even televised, although you might be able to find streams for those. Probably you can. Ohio State is definitely the better of these two teams. These two teams have not really been tested yet. Notre Dame's had a very easy schedule so far, and Ohio State has had a pretty easy schedule as well, I believe. A little bit stronger than Notre Dame's has been. Notre Dame, I mean, they're not very good in basketball right now, although, interestingly, Ohio State is only an 8-point favorite here. Ohio State, they're not like this upper echelon team right now, although they're a team that's probably going to be in the mix to make the tournament this year, I would say. They were kind of in that mix last year, and they fell short, but I think Ohio State will be a little bit better than that this year. I would lean to laying it with Ohio State here. I think they are the better team. They're up from 8 to 8 with juice here, 57% of the cash on them, 59% of the tickets on Notre Dame. Yeah, I would lay it with Ohio State if I was going to play it. It is the first true road game for Notre Dame as well, so that's not going to be easy, although you figure they will get up for a game against Ohio State, but Ohio State's still the better team right now. It's not going to be easy for them, so that's my quick opinion on that. Hampton and Holy Cross, my Worcester boys from Holy Cross playing in Providence. So this is not a true home game for Holy Cross. They're playing at the Pizzitola Center, which is, I don't know, is that where the Providence Bruins play? I'm not even sure. The Bruins minor league team there, I don't even know. But Hampton, not a good team. Holy Cross, also not a good team. Hampton is already in Providence because they did just play at Brown, which actually, this is actually Brown's home stadium, I think, the Pizzitola. So Hampton has an advantage here because they did just play at Brown, so they're going to be used to this arena from playing there already. They do play Boston College next, though, so that could be a little bit of a look ahead, and they did beat Brown in that game. So they actually, I was going to say they pulled off an upset, although it was a minor upset, in the College Hill Classic, because I think Brown, I mean, they're just not really that good. This is also part of the College Hill Classic, so yes, this is hosted by Brown, so my mistake there. Holy Cross, in their last game, they have not played in this tournament yet, and they're actually coming back from, they played in Providence on November 3rd, and then since then they've been in Utah against BYU in Utah. Now they're coming back home, or not home, they're coming back to Providence to play this, so the travel spot is kind of weird for Holy Cross, so I see advantages going both ways in this game, which is why I don't want to play it. You could argue Holy Cross is not as bad as their own 3 record looks because they faced 3 big conference teams to start the season all on the road, so they've had a difficult schedule so far. So them at 0-3 versus Hampton at 2-2 isn't exactly what it looks like by just looking at the records. Hampton is still the better team. They're down from 5 to 4.5 here. I mean, I'm not looking to play the Holy Cross side here, though, although I do think Hampton could be looking ahead to BC, like I said, but Hampton is now, familiarized with this venue, and the travel spot for Holy Cross is a little bit weird, so I don't love it. South Florida at Kennesaw State. I would lean to Kennesaw State here. South Florida just put up 100 points. They've put up almost 100 points in all 3 games, but their 2 wins are against Florida A&M and Coppin State, so those are not impressive victories. Even though they did blow them out, both teams, they're not impressive opponents. And South Florida did lose at home to George Washington, although George Washington, I think they're going to be one of the better A-10 teams, but that's still not good, really, for South Florida, losing that game at home. Or no, that wasn't at home. Never mind. That was a neutral site in Uncasville, Connecticut at Mohegan Sun. That was a neutral site game, so my mistake. And South Florida, I think, was a small favorite there. Now, South Florida is facing their first true road game at Kennesaw, and after this, they do have to face Oklahoma State, VCU, Utah State. So they have bigger games coming up after this, although I know Oklahoma State's been down, but they are still a Big 12 team. So first true road game, not easy, plus South Florida. Might start looking ahead a little bit. I like Kennesaw State, although maybe the fact that they're 3-0, maybe South Florida will take them a little bit more seriously. Kennesaw State also beat Florida A&M, although didn't beat them by as much of a margin as South Florida did. Kennesaw's other 2 wins are both against non-Division I teams, so they haven't really done anything yet, but I think they're a decent team in the Conference USA right now. This program has gotten fairly decent over the last few years when they were in the A-Sun, I believe, and now they're up in the CUSA, so they moved up. Moved up for a reason because they've been playing pretty well. At the same time that their football team's been improving as well and moved up to FPS. Kennesaw, yeah, they moved up in a conference in basketball. They were already D1 in basketball as well, but they moved up conferences. I think they're going to show up. I mean, South Florida is going to be one of their bigger opponents that they face this year. I think you're probably getting too many points here. Kennesaw is definitely a decent team. South Florida is up to a 7-point favorite. 64% of tickets, only 61% of the cash on them. It's a high total in this game, though, because I think both teams actually like to push the pace and play fast. But I would look to take the points with Kennesaw in that one. That is down in Georgia for that one, which is where Kennesaw is. Next up, I'm going to give out a play here. And this is, man, I know I'm playing on some real ugly teams, and I know this is one of them, but I think there's a reason to do it here. We're going to take Central Arkansas plus the 8.5 here against Sanford. This is all about the spot, man. Sanford, yeah, I know they've faced a more difficult schedule so far. They're still one of the decent teams in the SoCon, but they just took Arkansas to the limit, dude. They played 2 overtime games this week, although one of them they had to go to overtime to beat Texas Southern, which is not that impressive, although Texas Southern is at least one of the better SWAC teams. I do think Sanford is a bit down this year, but they went to Arkansas, man, and Arkansas, 21st in the country. It's John Calipari. They're SEC. We know Arkansas is a pretty solid team. They made the Sweet 16 last year, and Sanford is 24.5-point favorites. They gave Arkansas all they could handle in this game, man. Sanford basically took Arkansas almost to the limit in this game. If you look at the game flow, it wasn't quite that close. I mean, it was a little bit out of reach. Arkansas was up double digits later in the game after Sanford was within 1 possession in the middle of the second half. But Sanford did not go away, and they cut it back to single digits. They were back to within 6 points in the final minutes. They're actually back within 2 possessions in the final minute, and then they wound up only losing by 4. So Sanford did not go away. That was a huge game for them. They fell just short. Now they get Central Arkansas, 3rd straight road game. I don't know if they're going to be able to get back up off the mat, man, and get up for a bad Central Arkansas team. I don't really see it. They do have a Florida Gulf Coast up next. I don't know if that's really a look ahead, but Gulf Coast is at least a better team than Central Arkansas. And people are going to look at this and say, well, wait a minute. Sanford just almost beat Arkansas, and I think that was at Arkansas, and Central Arkansas just went to Arkansas on Tuesday and lost by almost 40 points. So obviously, Sanford's going to blow out Central Arkansas here, right? And then you look at the line only being 8.5. It looks so easy to lay the points with Sanford when they have this common opponent, Arkansas, and Sanford did like 30-something points better in that game than Central Arkansas did. So, yeah, it looks like Sanford should blow them out here. So there's something weird about this line here, man. Sanford is not as good this year as they have been in the last couple of years. Central Arkansas, their 2 losses so far against North Carolina and Arkansas, both on the road. So they got blown out, but you can't really blame them for losing those 2 games. I mean, that was obviously expected. And they were 35.5-point underdogs against Arkansas. So that would indicate that Sanford is about 11 or so points better based on that number than Central Arkansas, although this is at home for Central Arkansas. So 8.5 seems like, the line is probably about right based on those, based on the games that they played against Arkansas, but this is all about the spot. You can actually get 9.5 now, so maybe I should actually change it. Some money looks like it's come in early on Sanford, but I think Central Arkansas is the right play here. You might be able to get plus 9.5. I'll edit it in the description if that's the number now. So we'll go with that one as well. Sanford 0-2 ATS. But yeah, I guess the other games are against Division II teams. So yeah, I mean, well, wait a minute. What? Sanford's not 0-2 ATS. They obviously covered against Arkansas. What? I don't know what you're talking about. They probably covered against Tulane. Oh, no, they didn't. They were 7.5-point underdogs. They lost by 13, excuse me. I thought they might have covered that one too. Maybe you mean Sanford as a favorite. Yeah, Sanford as a favorite is 0-2, if that's what you mean. They didn't cover against South Carolina State or Texas Southern, I believe. Oh, no, they did. They covered. They were 2.5 against Texas Southern on the closing line, at least. So I think they're like 1-1 on the closing line, but whatever. They have not been good as a favorite, though, so that is a good point. All right. Loyola Maryland at Fairfield, just because I was kind of talking about these teams. Fairfield just escaped against Stonehill the other day. So they almost lost to, my Massachusetts guys, Stonehill there. Fairfield got taken to the limit, taken to overtime as 6.5-point favorites by Stonehill. So that's going to make Stonehill look pretty decent. It's going to make Fairfield look not that good, excuse me. And Loyola Maryland just covered against Stonehill, which that was a lean I gave out on the show yesterday. They only won by 11, but they did cover. I think they were like a 7-point favorite, whatever it was. So Loyola Maryland, they look like they're the better team because they both had this common opponent. But Loyola Maryland played yesterday, and they looked better against Stonehill, whereas Fairfield played 2 days ago and almost lost to Stonehill. So it's going to look pretty easy to want to take Fairfield. To want to take Loyola Maryland, in this game. These games are all at Fairfield's gym, by the way, so Fairfield is the home team. But I wouldn't do it. I would probably lean towards Fairfield in this one because they're the team that looked worse. They are still at home, although it is weird, though, that both teams were a 6.5-point favorite against Stonehill. So even though it was at Fairfield's gym, it was like, well, why did Fairfield not get like home court advantage? Because based on those lines both being the same, that would actually be the odds makers telling you that if you subtract Fairfield's home court advantage, they would actually be telling you that Loyola Maryland is actually the better team. But now this line has come out like the teams are basically even. Fairfield up from 3 to 3.5. So I actually think this line is a little bit too high. And maybe the odds makers are adjusting for that zigzag. But just based on the fact that they're both the same size favorite in the same gym against Stonehill, that doesn't make sense to me exactly. So this line, to me, it seems like this line should be closer to a pick'em. And then in that case, obviously, I would lean to Fairfield there because they looked bad. I still kind of lean that way, but the number just doesn't look right to me, if that all makes sense. So I'm going to stay away from that. Yeah, that's all right. Dude, I don't know anything. Like, in the morning, I'm all, like, messed up. I don't even know what I'm doing. I can't even think straight, so I don't know. I don't even sleep. Next up, here's another play for you. We're going to fade Wake Forest. We're going to take UMass-Lowell plus 28.5. Oh, yeah, this is going to be fun. UMass-Lowell, these guys suck. And I know Wake Forest does, I believe, like to push the pace. So I know this is going to be a pacing collision. Wake Forest, and I know KenPom has Wake Forest as a very unlucky team so far. So that means they're actually underperforming. So those are types of teams that I don't usually like to fade. Although UMass-Lowell actually does play faster this year, so I don't think they'll be that thrown off by that tempo. But UMass-Lowell is actually even lower in KenPom's luck index, so both these teams have been really unlucky so far, according to KenPom. UMass-Lowell has been horrific defensively, but this is all about the spot, man. This is all about fading Wake Forest. Wake Forest, they just took Michigan, number 6 in the country, to the absolute limit, man. They took them to overtime as 15.5-point underdogs. Huge performance from Wake Forest. Michigan had a lot of turnovers, kind of unlikely for a home team to lose a turnover battle like that. 17 turnovers, that was something that factored into that game. Wake Forest did shoot terribly, though, and still almost won the game, which worries me a little, but Michigan was terrible from three-point range, 16%. I still think Michigan came into this game not really taking Wake Forest that seriously, but Wake Forest, they went all out, man. This game was in Detroit, Michigan as well. So this was actually a semi-home game for Michigan in Detroit. So Michigan's fans showed up for this. And Michigan had a huge lead in the game, too. Michigan was winning by double digits throughout the middle of the game. And Wake Forest came all the way back, took the lead by 7 late in the game, blew that lead, and went into overtime. Then they fell just short. That was such a good performance from Wake Forest, man, against one of the top teams in the country. Now they got to come around. They got to come back home, fly south, and play UMass-Lowell. And then up next in 4 days, they got Texas Tech. So this is a sandwich spot for Wake Forest, man. And I think they're going to be just totally fatigued after that. I don't know how they get back up off the mat after that Michigan game. And you're asking them now to cover a massive spread and to be that focused against this pretty bad UMass-Lowell team. I don't see it happening. UMass-Lowell, they've been really bad so far. Of course, they had an expected loss to UConn, although they got absolutely embarrassed in that game, losing that game by, 63? Is that what they lost that game by? That's ridiculous. Against a UConn team that I think is known for playing slow under Dan Hurley, too. That's almost an inexcusable loss just because of what the score was. Then they lost at home to New Haven coming off of that. New Haven, as a 10-point underdog, beat UMass-Lowell in Lowell. Horrible performance from UMass-Lowell. Then UMass-Lowell had to go on the road to Columbia, and they were 13.5 underdogs in this one, so they weren't expected to cover this one. They basically lost by exactly the spread. They lost by 14, so they had a more expected outcome there. I think they're going to get up for this game, though, man, because they get to play an ACC team here. It's a game that is against a team it's probably not going to be able to blow them out as much as UConn did. UConn does play slow, by the way, so I think UConn just kind of ground UMass-Lowell down. UMass-Lowell, that threw UMass-Lowell's offense completely out, even though I know UMass-Lowell does not play well offensively. So they're one of those teams that speeds the game up and doesn't shoot well, which I don't love that combo at all. But I think the fact that Wake Forest plays fast, which is more what UMass-Lowell wants to do right now versus what UConn does, slowing the game down, I think this will actually be a better matchup for them, and they're catching Wake Forest in a much better spot. I know this is the first time UMass-Lowell's going to be outside of the Northeast, so that does make it a little bit difficult, but they're road tested at least, man. They did have to go to UConn, so and that game was actually in Hartford, though. That wasn't actually at UConn's arena, so it wasn't a true road game. So I guess scratch that a little bit, but the Columbia game was a true road game at least. So they're not totally untested, let's just say. You're getting a huge number here in this one that I think is too big. It's actually 31 now, but 67% of tickets are on Wake Forest, 96% of the cash coming back on UMass-Lowell. So I'm going to look at these numbers afterwards. Probably I'm going to adjust them in the description, but this one, I just entered it into the banners here just so I knew what I was going to talk about. But yeah, the money is looking like it's coming back on UMass-Lowell. That line is getting really out of control. I think they look worse than they actually are right now, especially because of that loss to New Haven, who's new to Division I this year as well. So, yeah, UMass-Lowell, they're aside there. Hold on, I'm rearranging the order of these. Man, college basketball takes forever to talk about. There's so many games. All right. Next up, I'm just going to talk about another one of my plays here, and it's going to be UMass minus the points. So I know I have to go offshore to do these, man, if I actually want to bet these because of the stupid law in Massachusetts. You can't bet games involving Massachusetts schools. So both of these games do, but I'm going to tell you to lay the points with UMass here against Central Connecticut. Central Connecticut, they just went into BC and they pulled off an upset, man. That was a huge win for Central Connecticut. Going in here, BC, 17.5-point favorites, and Central Connecticut beat them outright, and they were losing the whole game, too. It looked like the game was over. BC looked like they were going to start pulling away. They were up 10 in the second half, but they just couldn't get margin. They let Central Connecticut just creep back into the game and then wound up losing the game outright. That's a big win for a team like Central Connecticut, man, because they beat the team that's still considered to be like the biggest New England school, I think, except for UConn, obviously. But BC, that's a big deal, man. It's like they're the big boys in Massachusetts still. Huge win for Central Connecticut. Now they got to play UMass. And up next, they do have Rutgers, who is a Big Ten team. So I think they might maybe overlook this A10 UMass team, who's kind of a mediocre A10 team, and look ahead to Rutgers. The good news here, though, is that UMass is better at basketball than they are at football, because that football team in Division I is just an absolute disaster. But their basketball team isn't too bad. So I think we have a letdown spot for Central Connecticut. Now they're having to play UMass, who, by the way, UMass likes to play fast. So Ken Bum has UMass as the 17th tempo in the nation, and they actually play okay defense. So they're kind of like a mini St. John's as far as stylistically what they do. Ken Bum has them pretty low in his luck index, too, so they should be a little bit better than they actually are right now as far as their record, according to him. They faced a really weak schedule, but Central Connecticut is also a weak team. Oh, and by the way, who's the only fast-paced team at Central Connecticut played so far this year? Yeah, that was Quinnipiac, and look what Quinnipiac did to them. Quinnipiac beat them 71-49, and UMass is better than Quinnipiac, so that doesn't bode well for Central Connecticut. The fact that when they play this fast tempo team, they just got run out of the building, even though it was a low scoring game on both sides. Yeah, I think that looks bad for them. Stylistically, it looks like it's going to be bad for them. UMass is slightly better than Quinnipiac. I don't know if Ken Bum has them significantly better than Quinnipiac, actually. So I like that, too. It's basically a sandwich spot for Central Connecticut as well. For UMass, again, they just haven't really been tested so far. They did lose to Marshall in their first game. Marshall isn't that bad, although UMass was the favorite. Marshall's a decent Sun Belt team, so I'm not going to really knock them for that loss. Then they won as expected against two worse teams than them at home. They're staying at home, so there's no travel here for UMass. I know Central Connecticut's only traveling within Massachusetts right now, too, but I like it. I like how it sets up for UMass. They got a little bit of momentum here. Not overconfident because they've only beaten Albany and Lemoyne, so yes, I know Central Connecticut is more battle-tested just because they face BC, but BC is not that good. UMass is worse than BC, according to the odds makers here, of course, but, and yeah, I mean, they're an A10 team, not an ACC team, but still, lay the points with UMass, in my opinion, in that one. That's a play for me, and UMass is sitting at around a 10.5, 11-point favorite still. Don't really see the percentages on that one. All right. Radford and Cleveland State, this is an interesting one. This is in that Sulphur Springs Greenbrier. What is it, Greenbrier? Is that what it is? Whatever that tournament is. This is the other side of those matchups I just talked about. I think both teams played yesterday, so both teams don't have rest, but they're playing in the same arena. Cleveland State played really well against Kent State as an underdog and only lost to them by 7, so that looks pretty good. And Cleveland State, it was a high-scoring game, so that makes Cleveland State look pretty good. Whereas Radford got absolutely embarrassed by Wright State, 92-59. So nobody's going to want Radford after this. And Radford was actually the favorite in that game. And then if you turn around and look at the line in this game, Radford is actually a favorite here, up from 5-9. So the money has come in very strongly on Radford already. So this is not one of my plays, but you've kind of missed the boat on laying the points with Radford here. I mean, if you want to use them in like a money line parlay or something, you could do that. Because I do agree with this line move on Radford. It's just that I would have wanted to lay like 7 or less, probably, because 7 is a key number. Up at 9, it's getting a little bit ridiculous, but it looks ridiculous anyway, because how could Radford, who lost 92-59 to Wright State, how could they be a favorite of this magnitude? Well, Wright State shot 51% from the field, 65% from three-point range in the game, although they did dominate the rebound battle, so that is one concern. But Radford shot 36% from the field, 24% from three. This is one of the biggest outlier shooting games that I've probably ever seen. And again, meanwhile, Cleveland State looked a lot better, losing 102-95 to a Kent State team that people, I think, know is like a pretty good MAC team. Which, by the way, Cleveland State may have stepped up their game, I guess, because I didn't realize this. One of their former coaches died, although I don't know how much of an impact that really had on them. But they did step up their game. I think Cleveland State's going to look worse in this game, and Radford is going to look a lot better after how bad they looked in that other game. So I do agree with the Radford side. The big game of the day is number 1 Houston and number 22 Auburn, and this was my predicted championship matchup in my bracket last year. Unfortunately for me, I had Auburn beating Houston in the championship, and I almost had Houston winning the championship, and I think they should have when it came down to it. Houston had that game won, man, against Florida. I'm still a little bit pissed about it, but Auburn, obviously, they've taken a step down this year. Houston pretty much has not. Houston, dude, they'll lose like a couple of their best players each year, but they have players that are right there in the wings that are playing anyway with those better players, and then they just get elevated up to the starters. Houston's got a really, really solid program going on there with transition. Like, they don't do as much with the transfers in the NIL, though they use it a little bit, but they build from within, and it works really well for them. Auburn is in more of a rebuild here, so Houston, early season, I think they're the better team, but right now they're the better team in general, too. I do expect Auburn to be taking a step back this year. Also, first season without Bruce Pearl, though his son is their coach now. But definitely more continuity with Houston. They're number one in the country according to the rankings, and I actually think they probably are the number one team, like power ratings-wise. Ken Bum does actually concur with that, although his rankings have been shifting all over the place as, you know, we need the dust to settle a little bit as far as Ken Bum is concerned. Auburn's still good. This game is a semi-home game for Auburn. This is on ESPN at 3 p.m. Eastern. It's in Birmingham, Alabama, so it's a semi-home game for Auburn. I kind of still like Houston, though, man. I mean, neither team has really had, like, a test yet as far as their opponents. They've faced weak opponents, although, of course, Auburn had that pretty bad-looking game in their opener against Bethune-Cookman, having to go into overtime. Our boys, Bethune-Cookman, who gave us a cover yesterday, and they've actually given us 3 winners because we went against Bethune-Cookman on the show after they almost beat Auburn because I thought they were in a huge hangover spot. And I think we played Auburn as well in a bounce back off of that. And all 3 of our games involving Bethune-Cookman were winners, so I'm happy about that. Still, though, this is a game where both teams are going to show up, but I just think Houston is the better team here. So that is the way that I would lean. The money is agreeing with it. Houston up from 6 to 8. 68% of the tickets, 78% of the cash on them. Of course, 7 is a key number, and it has gone through that key number. So I think this is an actual legit line move because of that, although it does mean you've lost some value on Houston. Expected to be a low-scoring game, down at 139 for the total here, 139.5. Houston, we know they play egregiously slow. That's just what they do. They play a ridiculously slow tempo. Auburn plays a little bit faster than that, so Auburn might try to speed them up a little bit. So that is maybe a slight concern there. And again, Houston, the fact that they play slow pace like that, sometimes it's difficult to lay points with them. I know you're not laying too many points with them here, but I'll lean that way, but that's certainly not going to be one that's on my card. You're going to go with an under in this one. Houston has gone on. Oh, I thought you're like, I'm hoisting the unders. Hoist the flag of the under. I don't know if I would disagree with an under in this game. I think under is probably correlated to Houston covering because it would be their pace of game, even though that does sound a little bit weird because they're also a favorite. But, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Houston's gone under in all their games. Auburn's gone over because they've faced weak opponents. So both of those teams have controlled the pace of the game in their first 3 games, and Auburn wants to play a little bit faster. Houston wants to play way slow, so that does make sense. So there is going to be, this is a pacing collision, and it's like, well, which one is going to win out? Based on the total being this low, the odds makers almost seem to be saying Houston's going to be able to control the pace here too. It's not at Auburn's home arena either. All right. Presbyterian and Sacramento State. Man, I want to get this video done, though. Presbyterian's coming off playing South Carolina, though it wasn't a close game, but that was their first loss since their opener. They're not a very good team, but Presbyterian, that was a big game for them, at least emotionally. I think they stepped up for that game because I think Presbyterian, I'm pretty sure, is in South Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. The Blue Hose, one of the most ridiculous team names. We are the Presbyterian Panties, guys. But now they're having to go to the Pacific time zone randomly to play Sacramento State, and then after this they play Cal and UCLA while they're out there. So if they're going to overlook one of these games, I think it's going to be this one. against the Big Sky team when they have an ACC team and a Big Ten team coming up after this, and they're coming off playing an SEC team. So this looks pretty bad to me for Presbyterian. For Sacramento State, they're obviously just staying in the state of California here, where they've been for the entire season so far. They did just lose to UC Davis, though, which was a game where I think they did get up for this game. And they played tough. They covered by a half point on the close, on the closing number. They didn't win the game. They're coming back home here. They do have UCLA up next, and they play Cal after that. So debatably, it's a look ahead for Sacramento State as well here. Maybe Sacramento State doesn't focus on Presbyterian. I think the spot is worse for Presbyterian, though. Just having to go to the Pacific time zone just looks very, very odd. Sacramento State is already up from a 4.5-point favorite to a 7-point favorite, so the money seems to agree with my assessment of that one, where I would lean to Sacramento State, but I can kind of see arguments against both teams, so whatever. Will, what's up, man? Grinding a college essay. Oh, thank you, sir. So you're applying to college? Are you that young? Man. Yeah. I'll give you the motivation will involve Toad lore here. So my college essay, I would say have fun with it. So that's what I did with my college essay. I made it funny and I made it like something different. Like you want to differentiate yourself, right? Like these colleges, they're going to get the same essay from like everybody. It's going to be some BS, like some standard thing. Like people are just going to go online and be like, what should I write for my college essay? Because everybody's an NPC now, right? And they're going to, obviously they're going to talk about their achievements probably and whatever, and talk about how they want to be at this school and whatever. I didn't do any of that. I wrote mine about how it is to live life as a short king. Like that is what my college essay was about. My college essay was about being short and the mindset that you're in and what your life is like because you're short. So that's what I wrote mine about. I actually enjoyed writing it because it was comedy. It was like funny, and I think that actually separated me from the pack. I only applied to I think 4 or 5 schools, whatever. I believe I got accepted to all of them. One of them was UMass Amherst, though, and UMass Amherst was just giving me a free ride anyway, although I think I had to give them my essay anyway as like I think even though they were going to give me a free ride if I went there, I think it's a formality, whatever. I think I still had to go through the application process anyway and whatever. I wound up not going there anyway, but yeah, I don't know. Is that enough motivation? Have fun, baby. Just do it. Make it fun and don't make it a chore. You know what I mean? How old was I when I decided my major or career? When I was young, I was really into like tall buildings. So I wanted to be an architect for a while for that reason, I guess that was kind of my thing. And then, I don't know, I started using computers at a very young age too, though. And I was just good at it, and it just fit like the way that I think. Like I am a logical thinker, even though I adhere to like Austrian economics, which is much more of a behavioral science, and the stuff that I do with handicapping is much more behavioral as well, which seems weird, but my mind was definitely geared more towards like math, science, computers. So once I started like building websites at a young age, I was like, oh, I like coding, whatever. Like some of the classes that I took were pretty fun, like outside of school and throughout like my school curriculum. I'm like, all right, this is what I'm going to do. Basically, once I was like, I think while I was in high school is when I really kind of just decided on it. I was like, I'm going to take the computer science curriculum here. We're going to do that. And then I'm going to go to college for it. And, part of it was that I was also pretty good at it. So, and then, that is what happened. And then you start doing it as a career. And then like 18 plus years later, you feel like you have no soul anymore it's not because of the coding either. It's because of the corporate environment. Like I like doing the coding. I've worked for 3 different companies in that space. They're all in completely different industries too. And one of them was really, really fun. My second company was a ton of fun, but they wasted a ton of money and the company went under because of it. That company was super fun. Like I would have stayed there. So it was kind of unfortunate what happened there. They might have wound up firing me anyway, though, because of my belief system. And back when I was at that company, politics didn't infiltrate every aspect of daily life. Imagine what that was like. That was the case up until Trump came onto the scene. So the reaction to Trump caused it to happen, man. Yes, sir. All right, let's finish this stuff out here. Lindenwood and Alabama A&M. This is some tournament that's going on in Huntsville, Alabama, which is where Alabama A&M is. I pointed this out the other day. Alabama A&M is a 3.5-point favorite in this one. I just don't really have anything to say about it. I just kind of like to point out where these like neutral site games are, these tournament games. Although for Alabama A&M, that's actually their home arena. UNLV and Memphis. This is on ESPN. I'm going to give out a play on this, so you get a TV game from me here. I actually think the spot is bad for Memphis, so we're going to take UNLV plus the 10 in this one. And you know me, with my Memphis hatred, this game's already down to 9.5. I think that's still probably fine. I mean, 10 is not a key number in basketball, really. I mean, it's much more key in football. This is expected to be a high-scoring game. I think both teams kind of like to run, but the running Rebels against Memphis, but I'm still going to do it. Yeah, UNLV has a fast tempo style. Ken Baum, by the way, has UNLV as the unluckiest team in the entire nation, I think, at this point. Yeah, 365, so that is crazy, dude. We found a spot where I like the team that's the unluckiest team in the entire nation, according to Ken Baum. So he's saying that UNLV should be better than this 1-2 record that they have right now. He has them almost cracking his top 100 in the rankings, where he does have Memphis in the 50s, but I think the perception of Memphis is that they're better than that. And Memphis just, they continually are overrated, man. So I always find myself going against them. And this spot is not good. I mean, Memphis just went to Ole Miss. I think these two teams do play every year, but this is a big game nonetheless. They're facing an SEC team, Ole Miss. They made a nice run in the tournament last year. They're Chris Beard coach team. They're probably pretty good again this year. Ole Miss was a 9.5-point, 10-point favorite in this game, and Memphis played pretty close in the game. They only lost by 6. Memphis did not go away, even though they were losing for basically the whole game. They just stayed close the whole way, and they were within a couple of possessions late in the game. Huge game for Memphis, and they fell short. I know Ole Miss did shoot completely out of their minds in this game, though, and Memphis shot kind of ordinarily in the game. So, yes, this was an outlier shooting game for Ole Miss, so that does kind of indicate that Memphis was a little bit better in the game. But still, I think the mindset after they went to Ole Miss and stepped up for that game, had a huge game there. Coming off of that, I think they might be in a bit of a hangover spot. They got to play this UNLV team that's only a Mountain West team. Maybe Memphis doesn't take them serious, although I think Memphis does play UNLV every year as well. What happened in this game last year? Let me see. I think I actually had a loss on this game last year, which is not good. Memphis won at UNLV last year. I'm pretty sure I faded Memphis in that game last year, and I lost on that play, I'm pretty sure, that I gave out way back in the day last year, if I remember correctly. So Memphis actually won at UNLV, so this is actually road revenge from last year for UNLV, because this is like for some reason, I think they play every year, so UNLV might remember that, so that might motivate UNLV a little bit more. And Memphis has to play Purdue next on Thursday, man, so that's a huge game. Memphis got to play number 2 Purdue, which I think is actually also an accurate ranking. Purdue is right up there amongst the best teams in the entire country. So I think this is pretty much a sandwich spot for Memphis here. My only concern is that UNLV is going on the road for the first time. So usually I don't like to play a team facing their first true road game. But I think UNLV does make this trip every other year, so I think that does mitigate it a little bit. It's not an early start time either. It's at 5 p.m., so that will kind of help a Pacific Coast team adjust to the time zone a little bit more easily, because it'll be an afternoon game by their time as well, so that's fine. And also, UNLV, they're coming off a loss as 10.5-point favorites at home to Montana. So I think they're in a bounce-back spot here, too. That was an ugly loss. That was part of the reason why I wanted to fade Montana the other night against Cal Poly. I mean, this is a bad game for UNLV, man. Losing as a favorite like this. Montana had a pretty good shooting game in the game, although, yes, UNLV, you know, they statistically, like some of the more predictable statistics, like rebounds, they weren't good, but I don't know, man. Maybe they were looking ahead. They just didn't have a good game, but I think they're going to bounce back here. I think that might actually be a good thing then, that they get to leave campus, because it's almost like in the other sports. Sometimes when things aren't going well at home, I like to play teams when they go out on the road for the first time. In this case, you're not at home, but you could still be on campus and having to listen to everything where they're talking about how bad your basketball team is and whatever while you're on campus. So it could be good to maybe just get out of there, and then that still removes some of the distractions. So I think that might still be a good thing. And UNLV lost their opener to Tennessee Martin, too, as 16.5-point favorites. So I think people are really not going to want UNLV in this game. Public's going to be all on Memphis in this one, partially because of this, I think. And the public might actually play this game because it is on ESPN, and it's between two teams where people recognize the names. But yeah, I think the public's going to want to jump on Memphis, Penny Hardaway. They know the name. They remember when Memphis was really good with Calipari and whatever. I'm not going to do it, though, obviously, as you see. I think Ken Baum having UNLV, the unluckiest team in the country, I just showed you why. 2 home losses as huge favorites, which seem like outliers to me. So we're going to do it. Take the points with UNLV. Buffalo Wild Wings. Can you ask them to put it on? You might be able to ask them because, dude, they have so many TVs. I think you can just ask them to put that game on one TV and they'll do it. God damn it, dude. I don't even want to know right now. I do not want to. Dude, that's so bad for everything. Like, I need Mariota to put up points for my fantasy team, and I need Washington to actually fucking do something. I mean, come on, man. I thought that game was going to be high scoring because both defenses are awful. I hate these Europe games, dude. I shouldn't have given the play out. I mean, that was my weakest of the 4 plays. Larry Johnson, Grandma Ma. What are we talking about? Why are we? Did he go to Memphis? Maybe he did. I don't know. I don't remember where he went to college. I was a little bit too young. I just remember him on the Hornets. All right, and then as far as these other games, we'll give out the rest of the plays here. I think I only have one other play. No, I have 2. Oh, my God. We're going to take Mount St. Mary's plus 25.5 against Cincinnati. This is a sandwich spot as well. This is in the evening slate. Cincinnati just beat Dayton, and I talked about how big of a game that is for these two teams because they're like cross-state rivals, if you want to call it that. It was in the Twyman Stokes Classic, but this is a big game. I think these teams play every year. Big win for Cincinnati, beating Dayton. These two teams do not like each other. It's a geographic rivalry, an Ohio rivalry. Look at Dayton in this game, though. Cincinnati lost the turnover battle 24-13. And yes, they won the rebound battle. So those things actually concern me with fading Cincinnati because the fact that they lost the turnover battle so bad, that's an outlier and that's not going to happen again. But Dayton shot 32% from the field in this game and 8% from three-point range. Yeah, that's not a misprint, not a typo. 8% from 3. Like, do you think any team is going to shoot 8% from 3 the entirety of the rest of the season except for maybe like some really bad team it's up against a really, really good team that's just going to completely overwhelm them? I don't think so. I mean, that was a major outlier. This Dayton team, they're not good at shooting. And Cincinnati, yeah, I mean, they're like an attempted Trump assassin. That's how bad they are at shooting. Cincinnati was 47% from 3, which is kind of an outlier too. That was high. That's a big game. And coming up next, Cincinnati has Louisville. So that factored into my Louisville fade yesterday, which did win. Cincinnati might be looking ahead to Louisville as well, man. So this is a sandwich spot. That also means I think it's a spot where Cincinnati, even though they do like to speed the game up, I think they might just not go all out in this one. Cincinnati does play a fast tempo. They're pretty lucky in Ken Palm's luck index, though, at 91st, even though he has them as the second most efficient defense right now. So Cincinnati, almost like a St. John's, where they play really fast and they play really good defense. So they do like to press you and whatever, but they might not want to do that in this game because they know Mount St. Mary's is not that good. Mount St. Mary's, they're a slow-paced team as well. They're very bad offensively, so that does worry me a little bit. There is the pacing contrast here, but I just don't really think Cincinnati has that much of an incentive to do it, man. Like, when you have a big game coming up against Louisville and you just played a game against Dayton, you might not just want to go all out. You might not go at your full pace, which has been my handicap those last couple of games with Illinois and yesterday with Louisville. So those teams like to play fast as well. And I think there's just no reason to play at an extreme fast pace here when you know you're probably going to be able to win the game anyway. So I think that's also the case here. They might just want to try to get in and get out of this game. Easy win. Taking a lot of points here with this one. 75% of tickets, 78% of the cash on Cincinnati, but they are going to be public. For as to the extent that a basketball team in a game that probably nobody's paying attention to can be public. They're still sitting at about a 25.5-point favorite here. Not a whole lot else to say about this, although Mount St. Mary's did just get their first win, so I think that's good too. They lost to West Virginia on the road. I mean, you're not going to blame them for that. Only by 16, although West Virginia plays ugly, slow basketball now. But it's still West Virginia. I mean, they were obviously the much better team and expected to win that game. Kind of a bad loss at home for Mount St. Mary's against Bucknell. Bucknell, as we saw when I faded them with Hofstra, they're not good. But Mount St. Mary's had a nice bounce back, beating St. Francis. I know St. Francis is not good. St. Francis, PA, but there's no more St. Francis, New York. But I think what that win will do is it won't make Mount St. Mary's overconfident, and what it will do is just give them some confidence because that was a road game. They were able to get the win, and now they are not winless on the season, and they can carry that momentum forward. I think they'll show up for a game against Cincinnati. They'll want to play well, so we're going to do that one. Mount St. Mary's plus the points. You don't like fading Cincinnati in basketball? For me, it's all dependent on the spot, of course. In football, same thing, all dependent on the spot. There have been spots where I've liked them. There have been spots where I do not like them. All right, and then the last play is going to be a fade of Purdue. So we're going to fade a slow-paced team this time. We're going to take the 19.5 with Akron. I actually think Akron is pretty good. They're one of the better MAC teams this year, man. So that's why even though Purdue is one of the top teams in the country, you can actually get 20.5 on this now. 52% of the tickets are on Purdue, 58% of the cash coming back on Akron, though. But even though Purdue is one of the best teams in the country, Akron, I think they're being pretty underrated right now, man. I think they're a bit under the radar. I think they might be the team to beat in the MAC this year. Let's just put it that way. Macron, getting some action there, because if Purdue's only favored by this much, I mean, the odds makers are telling you they do have a lot of respect for Akron because Purdue is really good. Totals at 160.5, which seems pretty high for a Purdue game because Purdue, even though they shoot very efficiently, they do play slow. So this might indicate that maybe Akron might actually be able to get their pace involved in this game because Akron does like to play fast. So that's kind of the one concern I have here is that Akron plays fast. Purdue, of course, likes to play slow. Like I said, Purdue hasn't been that great on defense this year, though. They've been excellent offensively as far as efficiency is concerned, like scoring on a high percent of their possessions. But they've been lucky, too. 41st in luck for Purdue. But I also think Purdue is in a major letdown here. I think they might... First of all, if they're able to slow this game down, that also helps with an underdog covering a big spread because it means there are going to be fewer points scored in the game, so that kind of just leaves the door open for the underdog to cover. But I gave up Purdue on the show, and that was a winner for us in their last game. They went into Alabama and beat Alabama. That's a huge win, man. Now they're coming back home, and you got to think coming back to campus, you got to think everybody's really, really pumping them up, really, really high on Purdue basketball right now after that massive win over Alabama. Now they're coming back home, and they got to play Akron. I mean, whatever. They're going to think it's easy. And then up after this, they do have Memphis, like I said, and I think that's a bigger game. Memphis, a much bigger name in basketball than Akron, at least. But primarily, I do think this is a letdown spot, although I do think it is a sandwich spot as well. And Akron, again, I think this team's flying under the radar. Even though they're 3-0, I don't think Purdue's going to take them seriously, but they beat JMU by double digits. JMU's not that bad of a team, and Akron pummeled Princeton. And Princeton has been one of the better Ivy teams in recent years. Akron obliterated that team by like almost 40 points. So this Akron team, I think they're good, man. And then they beat some non-Division I team by a huge margin as well. Yeah, this is their first true road game. It's only going to Indiana, though. You know they're going to get up for this game against Purdue, though. Yeah, I still like it, even though it is their first true road game. I think the spot is worse for Purdue. It's not like a weird geographic spot. Like I said, they're only going from Ohio to Indiana. So I think it's fine. I like it. I like Akron to come within that number. And that is the final play for college basketball. And then we do have Miami and Florida as the ESPN night game at 8:30. Of course, Florida is the better of these two teams. There's no doubt about that. Florida has been pretty battle-tested as they face Arizona and Florida State, although they did lose to Arizona all the way out in Vegas, though, and Arizona had a home contingent there. Florida's coming off a win over Florida State, which I could see this game going both ways because Florida was a 17.5-point favorite over Florida State here, and Florida State took them to the absolute limit, and Florida won the game by 2. But I could see that going both ways. I mean, you could argue that, well, Florida should have won by way more because they were a huge favorite, and when you have a huge favorite coming off a bad performance like that, they usually play better the next game. I agree with that argument, but this was also a huge game for both teams. It's a big Florida rivalry. So in that respect, you could argue that it could be a little bit of a hangover as well. Miami, I don't think they're – I mean, I don't even want to know. I don't know which of these teams is better right now between Miami and Florida State. They've both fallen down a bit. I think Miami is the better of the teams, though. Yeah, Miami's in the 50s in KenPom right now. Florida State's in the 70s. So both teams are down right now, but Miami's considered to be the better team. Miami's 3-0, but they really have not been tested yet. They got us a win against Bethune-Cookman, and they've just won easily against 3 opponents so far, 3 weak opponents. So not much to really see there. This is going to be their first game where they're stepping up a class, playing Florida. This is actually a neutral site game in Jacksonville, although I believe Jacksonville's a bit closer to Gainesville than it is to Miami, because Miami's way down south. So there's probably going to be a bigger University of Florida contingent at this game. So they'll have more of a home crowd in this one, Florida will. Florida's much more battle-tested. I'm going to lean towards Florida bouncing back after not doing well as a big favorite against Florida State. So I would probably lay it with Florida here. They're a 10-point favorite, although the money may be slightly indicating on Miami. 65% of the tickets, 68% of the cash on Miami here. But Florida's the better team. I expect them to play better this time. I think they will win and cover if you forced me to give an opinion on that game. So that's that. Let's go to NHL, where I know I already missed one of the NHL starts here, and I would have given out Pittsburgh as a lean, although I don't think I would have made it a play. This is, of course, the second Sweden game between Nashville and Pittsburgh. I apologize for not talking about this last night because I forgot it was a 9 a.m. East Coast start time. Pittsburgh went up from -120 to -129 on this one. 74% of tickets, 97% of the cash. So the money came in on Pittsburgh. They're going to win the game. I mean, they're up 3-0 right now. Nashville won the first game in Sweden, so this was a bit of a zigzag spot where they're playing in the same venue. You got to think Pittsburgh a little bit more motivated to try to even the Sweden series here, because I think it's just 2 games, so you don't want to go 0-2 in those games. But if you look at the stats, Nashville actually did dominate Pittsburgh statistically in that game, even though they only won, I think, in overtime or in a shootout. Nashville, again, they underperformed again because they dominated Pittsburgh statistically in that first game and still barely won. So that would have given me a little bit of pause on this, although I still would have leaned Pittsburgh in the zigzag because, again, Pittsburgh, the team coming off the loss, same opponent, same venue. They're the team that would have had the adjustments to make. I don't think I would have made it a play, though. Tarkanian. Tark at UNLV. Yeah, where's he at now? I don't know. But, yeah, I remember him, yeah. Purdue was 1-2 ATS, and the only one that they covered was the winner for us on the show. Hell yeah. Yeah, I mean, Purdue's just been a little bit overvalued in the market because they're ranked really high. That's kind of expected, I would say. Oh, come on, man. Dude, I'm getting so sick. Thank you, sir. I don't even want to know, to be honest. I can't stomach it. I honestly cannot stomach it, Jeffrey. Like, that's why I don't have the game on right now. I just have ESPN on over here. I don't even want to see what's happening when I have any stock in it, even though I didn't even actually put money on this. I gave it out as a play. right now, as I pointed out on my show, my money's not liquid right now, so I actually stopped putting money on these things, which I'm mad about because I've been winning over the last couple months. I've been really quite good, so I'd be up a lot of money if I was. I should be doing it. But, dude, even when I just, put my name on the thing, and that's, the stock that I have in it and whatever, and it's a pick, and this one is in my money pick 5, too, so I did add Washington to that, of course, because it's one of my plays, so it's in my pick 5, which when I get to the NFL, I'll tell you which one is my 5th, because obviously my 4 plays are going to be in my pick 5, but I'll tell you right now, it's Jacksonville was the team that I added. That's my 5th play. In my pick 5. I don't think I'm going to change it. Maybe I'll swap it out, but I don't think so. Yes, it does help to watch, but in a way I think it hurts as well because people, the eye test can fool you. Your eyes can fool you. What you see is not necessarily what you think you see, if that makes sense. If a team looks good, they're probably not as good as that. And if a team looks really bad, they're probably not as bad as that. So Jacksonville, yeah, it's not one of my plays, but I do like them in the game today. I don't think I'm going to switch that one out as my 5th money pool play, but it's not one of my plays. But, yeah, I mean, I can't stomach it. I have anxiety. I just can't do it. I have high blood pressure. I'm on blood pressure meds, which is probably partially what led to my stroke as well. I get too much anxiety from watching the games. I can't do it, man. I just like to relax and just keep my mind off it and watch something else. And then once everything's done, I'll go back and watch highlights later. So, yeah, although I know the highlights don't tell everything. All right, hockey. We got Vancouver and Tampa Bay. I'm not going to give out a hockey play today. I just don't like any of these games enough. But Tampa Bay, probably in a letdown spot and on a back-to-back. They were a winner for us yesterday. They got a huge playoff revenge win against Florida because Florida was the team that knocked them out of the playoffs last year. So that was a big part of that handicap yesterday. I liked Tampa Bay to show up in that one. They did. They got a huge win. Now you're probably looking at Johansson being back in net here for Johansson. That's what I yelled during the 90s when I heard Bop come on the radio. Tampa Bay, I think it is a bit of a letdown spot here, man. And they do face New Jersey and then Edmonton and Washington coming up next. So it does actually look like a sandwich, and it's a back-to-back. So I don't like Tampa Bay in this spot. So starting out the handicap looks like it should be a fade of them, but I don't think I could quite get there with it because Vancouver did just take a really good Carolina team to the limit and lose in overtime, and they might wind up with Demko back in net here, although actually he might be hurt still. Hold on, let me see. Yeah, he's on IR, so actually I don't know what's going to happen with Vancouver, man. If they have to go to a backup goalie, it's going to be the first time they don't go with Demko or Lankinen, so I'm worried about that, man. Now, you could look at that starting goalie page that I like to look at, because I don't know, man. If it's going to be some goalie making his first start of the season for Vancouver, I don't love that, and I don't love the fact that they took Carolina to the limit, and I don't love that they play Florida tomorrow. So they might look ahead to that because Florida, they're still the back-to-back returning champs, man, so I can't get there with it. If I was going to do this game, I would actually probably go with an over. One of those overs that I just say, yeah, go with the over because both teams are in a bad spot, thinking that their defense will just lapse a little bit. And you're going to be getting I think you might be getting both second-string goalies in this game too, so I think that's a factor to look for as far as an over is concerned as well. The total's pretty high, although it did flip to 6.5 juice to the under, but I think that's the way that I would go. And Tampa Bay is taking the money, 76% of tickets, 94% of the cash, up to minus 170. I don't really have a thought on that, though. So, yeah, I mean, I think it would be over for me in that game. And it might be over for me if I did that and I got it wrong. Vegas is at Minnesota. Vegas playing a lot of overtime games, man. They did get a win yesterday, so they're on a back-to-back, which does worry me, though. 3 games in 4 days, all in different cities, back-to-back. Traveling from St. Louis to Minnesota. That worries me a little bit, but the win yesterday also is good because it broke a loss streak for Vegas. So when you're on a losing streak, it's good to end that losing momentum with a win, man. So I could see that win actually maybe propelling them forward. You're going to get Lindbaum in net. Lindbaum. he's been a bum. I mean, they've lost the last 4 starts of his. They've lost every start of his this season, actually. So he's probably in net today. So that's probably not a good thing for Vegas, that he's probably going to be their goalie here. For Minnesota, I think Minnesota could be in a letdown spot here too, though. They played yesterday too, although they're staying at home. But they had a nice bounce back after an ugly loss to San Jose. They beat Anaheim yesterday with Wallstedt in net. Wallstedt has actually played 3 of their last 4 games. So I don't know if he's becoming their main goalie now or what. On a back-to-back, you're probably getting Gustafsson back in net here. And they've lost his last 2 games, although Gustafsson he has been their primary goalie for a long time. So I'm not sure that that's terrible for Minnesota, but I just don't think I could do it off of that Anaheim win, man. That was a big win for them. Although I know Vegas is a big game too. So I don't think they're going to overlook Vegas. The money is indicating on Vegas for now, down from -125 to -122 here. 54% of the cash on them, though, and 54% of tickets on Minnesota. I know I talk about how Minnesota's overrated, but I might lean towards Minnesota as the home dog here, man, because they're staying at home. Before yesterday, they had multiple days off, so they're the more rested team, They're the more rested team, less travel for them. And if Vegas is using a goalie for the first time this season, I don't like that either. So slight lean for me to Minnesota. Jeffrey, you like the Rangers? Really? Even though they're on the road? Rangers at Detroit. Or excuse me, Detroit at the Rangers. My mistake. Detroit at the Rangers. Looking at the money here, I believe the money is agreeing with you on the Rangers. If I can actually even bring up Firefox right now. The Rangers down from -148 to -143, though. 60% of the tickets, 90% of the cash on the Rangers. Money looks like it's coming in on the Rangers, but I would lean to Detroit in this game for a couple of reasons. Detroit, they're coming off an overtime loss to Buffalo. I know it is a back-to-back, and it's the 3rd game in 4 days. That's a little bit worrisome. They are having to travel with no time off here. They're going from Detroit to New York. A little bit worrisome, although I think it is a bounce-back spot in a way for them because look at the spot they were in that game against Buffalo. They just beat Anaheim. They just beat Anaheim the game before that, which was a big win. Then they faced this bad Buffalo team, and they had the Rangers coming up the next day. So I think it was a bit of a sandwich spot there. I think they might have more focus on the Rangers here. Losing to Buffalo is pretty ugly. They've been alternating Talbot and Gibson. I mean, Talbot's going to be back in net here, and they've won 3 of his last 4 starts, so they haven't exactly been bad with Talbot in net, so I think I'm fine with that. Now you got the Rangers here. The Rangers also played yesterday, as you know, because that was a win for us, and they're traveling home from Columbus. They went into a shootout. I know getting an escape against Columbus, that might motivate them a little bit too. Shesterkin played a bunch of games, and because this is a back-to-back, it's going to be Quick in net, I'm pretty sure here. Although the Rangers, they're 3-1 with Quick in net. So that's a good thing. However, every one of the wins with Quick in net has been on the road. We know the deal with the Rangers, man. They win on the road and they never win at home. I mean, that's the handicap here. Other than the fact that, both teams are on the back-to-back, whatever. They're both having similar travel here. Rangers are coming back home, though. And the Rangers do have Vegas and Colorado coming up next. And for Detroit, yeah, Detroit's a winning team, but the Rangers did just go into Detroit and beat them. And that was one of the Quick games. Yeah, so Quick did well against them, but still, you remember, I think I gave out the Rangers in that game because the Rangers are coming off that loss to Carolina. They had multiple days off. It was, I think it was a bad spot for Detroit. Let me see. Detroit had just lost to Vegas, and they were returning home from a road trip. So that was a really bad spot for Detroit. They were losing. They had lost 1-0 to Vegas, a close loss, and returning home from a road trip. So I think I did give out the Rangers in that one. It was a distraction spot. Plus, the Rangers are terrible at home. So I'm pretty sure I did. Plus, the Rangers are good on the road. Excuse me. So I think I did give out the Rangers in that game. But now that sets up a quick revenge spot, which is a good early season handicap in hockey, with the team that just lost at home, and in this case pretty badly, 4-1, against a Ranger team that's been very, very, very good on the road, though. And that was a horrible spot again for Detroit, so you can see why that happened. Usually that team early in the season, they do bounce back and play well at home. So I expect that to be the case. The Rangers or no, actually, in this case, they're playing on the road. My mistake. Why do I keep saying they're playing at home? No, they're playing on the road here, but this is a road revenge angle this time. The home revenge angle is actually a little bit stronger in early NHL, but still the road revenge angle, quick road revenge, I think is still strong. And once again, the Rangers are pathetic at home. They have one win at home. They're 1-6-1 at home, and they've been shut out 5 times at home. Like, yes, they beat Nashville at home, but come on. Nashville, they suck. We're watching them right now. That Nashville team, they have a lot of, they're just bad, dude. I don't know what else to say. So I'm still not convinced that the Rangers have fixed all their home issues here. I would definitely go with Detroit in this game. That's close to a play for me. I'm considering it, to be honest. I'm not gonna do it, but the market read is a bit against it. But I like Detroit in that game for sure. Getting them at a pretty decent underdog price too. Detroit has problems. Yeah, well, they're like 4-3 on the road or something like that, or 4-4 on the road. They're not 1-6-1 in any capacity like the Rangers are at home. And then we have Islanders at Colorado. This is a pretty bad spot for the Islanders, man. I'm just shocked that they keep winning these games. They're on a ridiculous run where they beat the Rangers, although, of course, that was at Madison Square Garden where the Rangers can't win unless they're playing Nashville. Big game for New York, though, for the Islanders, beating the Rangers and embarrassing them 5-0. Huge win. They came off that and they beat New Jersey, their other territorial rival, in overtime on the road. Huge win. Then they had to go out to the Pacific Coast, and I'm thinking, there's no way the Islanders are going to beat Vegas. They did in overtime. Then I'm thinking, back-to-back, they have no rest. They're not going to beat Utah in the next game after those huge wins all in a row. No. And they have Colorado up next. There's no way. Yeah, they did again. They beat Utah in overtime. Something's got to run out here, man. I know the Islanders, they'll still get up for a game against Colorado because Colorado's really good, but you're looking now at the Islanders winning 4 straight big games in a row. The last 3 all in overtime. They're playing a third game in 4 days, all in different cities, 2 straight games in high elevation, those games all being in overtime. Man, I mean, I don't think they're going to win this game. Colorado, they're just staying at home. They've had multiple days off, although you could argue that multiple days off is bad for Colorado because they're on a 5-game win streak and you don't really want to stop your winning momentum, but they're just kind of coasting right now at home. And maybe they will actually pay attention to the Islanders because Colorado's had some time off and the Islanders have been really, really hot. So Colorado probably won't overlook them. I would lean to Colorado in this game. The problem is, how do you play Colorado when they're up from 250 to minus 260 here? Minus 250 to minus 260. I don't know, man. 78% of tickets, 93% of the cash coming in on Colorado. So the money is agreeing with Colorado. Seeing what the price is here, I mean, you could go with Colorado puck line, maybe. Like, you're asking them to win by margin, though, if you do that. Let me see. What's the line look like on that? You could go with Colorado in regulation, too. Puck line is probably actually what I would do with Colorado. You can get them at minus 1.5 goals at, like, minus 105, so it basically turns into a spread bet. But that is pretty crazy. Like asking a hockey team to win by 2 goals. I don't love doing that. So I'm passing on it, but I like Colorado. I see no way that the Islanders win this game, to be honest. A value play. I mean, the line looks high on Colorado. It probably is a little bit too high, but the spot is awful. Like, I don't think there's any way the Islanders win this game. I think it finally runs out for them. But if I was going to play a hockey game, it would be the Red Wings on the money line there. I do like the Red Wings. And then NBA. Man, this show, I don't know, man. This show, very, very tiring, especially when I'm coming off doing the night show. We have Clippers at my Boston Celtics. Celtics are up from 4 to 5.5, so some money is coming on the Celtics in this afternoon game. 91% of the tickets, 99% of the cash on the Celtics. The Clippers did finally end their loss streak, though, so that's a good thing for the Clippers. The fact that they at least ended that horrible run that they were on. And of course, they did it against Dallas, who's really been struggling, and it took 2 overtimes to do it. But the Clippers finally ended that losing momentum. So I actually do think that's kind of a positive, propelling them forward. I mean, I think they'll pay attention to the Celtics here. Celtics, still a team. They're still a named team, a team that's going to draw your focus. Celtics have had a lot of time off, though. They came home on Wednesday, and that was the last time they played. They blew out Memphis, but having all these days off and only having Brooklyn up next, the Celtics probably will show up for this game as well. So, I mean, I'll slightly agree with the market here and agree with the more rested, better team in the Celtics laying the points here, but I don't want to do it, obviously. I don't really have a strong thing here today. You like the Kings and the Wizards today. Thank you, Jeffrey. The Wizards, I mean, that game is something I don't want to go anywhere near that game. I want to be in a different country than where that game is being played. The Kings-Spurs handicap is very difficult as well, which we'll talk about right now. Thanks for hanging out, Jeffrey. Hopefully, check out the rest of the show later, and you'll see my breakdown on these games, which I don't have a play on these games. I just can't quite figure them out. The Kings have lost 5 games in a row. They're coming off a big game against Minnesota, though, so this does worry me, even though Minnesota, on their stupid neon green, whatever this is, the NBA Cup thing. Although I actually like this court more than the rest of them because I like neon green, so I actually like this one better than the rest. So I think I actually might get one of these neon green Timberwolves jerseys. One of those cheap, Chinese wholesale ones that I can get. But you remember, Sacramento, I had them in this game to cover the spread. I had them at plus 12. They're a 12-point dog in this game, and they had chances, man. They should have covered. I mean, they had chances to maybe win the game. Sacramento was winning this game in the third quarter. They were still winning, actually, late in the third quarter. The game was tied in the fourth quarter. And then somehow everything fell apart, and they wound up not even covering as Sacramento went completely silent for a period of over 4 minutes. They didn't score any points in the crucial part of the game, and that's the only reason why they didn't cover. Like, I didn't care that they lost the game, really, as far as that play was concerned, but they absolutely should have covered that game. I can't believe they didn't. And now Sacramento's coming up, putting in a good effort against Minnesota. They almost took them to the wire, so I do worry about Sacramento coming off a game like that. They do have OKC up next too, although I don't think they're going to overlook San Antonio really or overlook anybody, but I think it's a difficult spot coming off that huge effort against Minnesota. I don't think it's a good spot for the Spurs either, but they are staying at home, but they're coming off back-to-back games against Golden State, and they are the other loss that I had on Friday where I think San Antonio should have won this game in the zigzag spot. I mean, look at this. San Antonio had the high percentage to win this game throughout the late portions of this game. I mean, it got to a point where they were 90-something% to win with not that much time left. They were winning by 8 late in the game, and they somehow lost the game. I don't even know what happened in this game, man. I think they were winning 100-92, and then they lost the game. Just ridiculous. Yeah, they were winning 100-92 with 5 minutes left, basically, in the game. Blew that lead. They still took the lead back. They were winning the game late. Looked like they might get into a spot where they're going to have the lead and get intentionally fouled, winning by 3 in the final minute and a half, and then they still lose the game. That's brutal. I mean, it's still a game you get up for, too, against the Warriors. Probably not really going to get up against Sacramento. I mean, both these teams are in bad spots. I can't do it. The money is saying the Spurs, even though they dropped from 8.5 to 8 with juice, though, so not really much of a move there. 65% of the tickets are on the Kings. I mean, the public being on the Kings doesn't make sense to me. I doubt that they are, but 71% of the cash on the Spurs. The money is saying Spurs. I mean, I do think the Kings' performance in their last game was a little bit more fatiguing, let's say, with the way that that game played out, and they're having to travel, whereas the Spurs aren't. So I would probably slightly lean to the Spurs myself in that game, but I don't like it at all. I mean, I think an over might make sense in that game, although the money's coming back in on the under now since the total went all the way up to 239.5. But with both teams coming off pretty tiring games, I could definitely see that being an over type of game. Even though you do have tired legs, it might affect your shooting a little bit, but I think it affects the defense even more. Brooklyn at Washington, I basically got nothing in this game. I mean, Brooklyn they played pretty tough. They gave us a cover. That was our only win on Friday. They played tough against Orlando, so that is something. I mean, they were double-digit underdogs in this game, and they played tough and actually had chances to win the game. Brooklyn was winning the game in the final minutes of the game and fell short. So I would agree. I probably do agree with Jeffrey on this one that Brooklyn's coming off a big performance there. Now they got to face Washington, and coming up next they do have Boston. So coming off a big performance like that against Orlando with Boston up next, this does look like a spot where maybe they get caught. One of these 1-11 teams has got to win. I just don't know if I can get there with Washington either because they're coming back from Houston. By the way, I like that Washington has a guy named Sar, Alex Sar. I can't do the Indian accent very. Excuse me, Sar. What are you doing? I can't really do it, man. That makes me sound like Dracula or something. I don't know. But whatever. SARS, it's a ridiculous name to have here. I'm going to get nuked for bad accents. But anyway, Washington did just go to Detroit and play them into overtime. And then they did lose more. They did lose in a blowout at Houston last time, but they are still returning home from a road trip where they've been gone for almost a week. So for Washington, it is possible they don't really focus on this game either, and they might look ahead to Minnesota, even though I know when you're 1-11, you should focus on everybody, and they've had extra days off. But it is still a return home spot, although I know it's a short road trip, so it's not as bad as if you were on a long road trip. I'll agree with Washington still, but I don't love it for a play. Wizards down from 3.5 to 3, 84% of the tickets and 87% of the cash on them. Should just call them the Bullets still. It is hilarious that they were no longer the Bullets already when the shooting guards fiasco happened between Arenas and Crittenton. Orlando at Houston will be a play for me, so let's just get these out of the way. We're going to take the points with Orlando against Houston here. Orlando, like I said, they're coming off that bad game against Brooklyn where they almost lost the game, and I think they were overlooking Brooklyn. I mean, if you saw my handicap on that, I gave out Brooklyn as a play because Orlando, they had just won in New York. That was a huge win for them over the Knicks as an underdog. I thought it was a big letdown spot. And with Houston and Golden State coming up after that, I thought they were going to completely look past Brooklyn, and pretty much they did. And now I think they realize that. So now after that, I think it's good for them to just get out of there, focus on a basketball game. And I think they will bring focus here. This Orlando team, I mean, they got a lot of talent on this team, man, and their guys are back, I'm pretty sure. So, I mean, they were injured during the playoffs last year, but actually, these guys are both out. Never mind. So they're without Banchero and Wagner in this one, but I'm still going to do it because that means it's an injured player spot. So I think the Rockets are going to overlook Orlando here, man. Or actually, let me see. Actually, do I want to pull this one off the board? Hold on. Because, wait a minute. Banchero was out for that game against Brooklyn, I think. Oh, crap. Hang on. What about Wagner? Hold on. Let me see. So, I mean, we have some weird injured player spots going on in this game, man. Hang on. For Wagner, let me see. Wait, what? What am I looking at here? Wait, is he not... Oh, no, that's Mo Wagner. Never mind. So it's only Banchero that's out. Dude, the Wagners, that throws me off. Franz Wagner, I think, is the better Wagner, so he's still playing. But yeah, Banchero, it will be his second game out, but I'm still going to do this. I mean, I just think the setup is good situationally. I mean, Orlando coming off overlooking Brooklyn in that game. Yes, that was their first game without Banchero, so you would have expected them to play better because it was the injured player spot, which I didn't even realize when I made that handicap. But maybe this is the game where they'll actually focus more, knowing that he's out. And they're kind of used to playing without him because I think he was hurt during their playoff run last year as well, which didn't go very far. Houston, they got to be feeling real good about themselves because they just smoked Portland 140 to 116. They put up over 120 points in 3 games in a row. This Houston team is looking really good, and they do have Cleveland up next. So I think it's a little bit sandwichy here, where I think they're going to look too good off that win over Portland, and they got to face Cleveland on ESPN on Wednesday. That's a massive game, monster game, and then they do have Denver up after that, which is also a huge game. So money's coming in on the Rockets slightly. It looks like right now 62% of tickets on the Magic, 51% of the cash on the Rockets, but I like the situational setup, except for the Banchero being in his second game out. But maybe we'll see a delayed injured player theory spot because I just think the Magic really, really took Brooklyn lightly. And they won't do that with the Rockets here. So for the situational setup, I do like Orlando plus the points there. Golden State at New Orleans. Golden State's coming off nice wins over San Antonio. They have Orlando up next after they have to go to New Orleans. So I think they might overlook New Orleans. For New Orleans, you got to see if Zion Williamson is back because if he is, then it would be an injured player, reverse injured player spot. Where of course, if Williamson comes back, you're going to get less value on New Orleans, and they might actually have to like work him back in. So it might be a little bit difficult for New Orleans. New Orleans is staying at home, though, so it's not a terrible spot for them where I think they will show up because they're a 2-win team, so they basically have to show up in every game. Golden State coming off those big wins over San Antonio, and they got Orlando up next, so I would lean to the Pelicans in this one. Money seems to agree. 92% of the tickets are on the Warriors. 55% of the cash coming back on the Pelicans. So the money is saying the Pelicans. If Zion is coming back, I like it a little bit less though, because it might be kind of like a chemistry thing, trying to work him back in. Portland at Dallas. I mean, Portland is coming off getting smoked in that game by Houston. They're probably gonna want to get one of these two Texas games, and they're also 1-3 on the road trip, so they're probably going to show up for this game, try to salvage the road trip. For Dallas, Dallas just lost in double overtime to the Clippers. Coming off that, they do have Minnesota and New York up next. I think the spot does actually set up a little bit better for Portland here. As far as the personnel for Dallas, you got to see if Anthony Davis is coming back or not because he didn't play. He and Washington and Lively, I think, were all still out. No, Lively came back, but he only played 4 minutes off the bench. But yeah, Washington, AD, they both missed the last game, so you got to watch this injury report. They both are expected to maybe come back in this game. So if AD, especially if he comes back in this game, that's going to make it a reverse injured player spot for Dallas as well because their best player will come back. So might take their foot off the gas a little bit if he does, although based on this line, it's looking like he might not be back because the Blazers are up from a 3.5 to a 4-point favorite. 88% of the tickets, 91% of the cash on them. I don't disagree with the Portland side there, but it's not something I want to do. Atlanta at Phoenix. Atlanta coming in on a nice roll. They've beaten a bunch of teams on this road trip here. A couple days off. Maybe they finally get caught at the end of the road trip here, though, because they've won 4 games in a row, 3 on this road trip. A couple days off might hurt their momentum a little bit, even though it will give them some rest. Now they have Phoenix to finish the road trip, and they are going to have to come home and play Detroit, which is a pretty big game the way Detroit has been playing recently. So maybe Atlanta does get caught in the final game of the road trip. Phoenix, though, they had won 5 in a row, and they also have the same amount of rest, so they've had rest as well, which might hurt their momentum as well, but they're staying at home. They've beaten mostly bad teams over this stretch, so nothing to really see with the fact that the Suns have won against bad teams. But I think the spot sets up a little bit better for the Suns, but the money's coming in on the Hawks. Up from 1-1 with juice as a road favorite here. 89% of tickets on the Suns. 66% of the cash coming in on Atlanta, though. So the money's actually coming in on Atlanta. Looking at the injury report for this one, Trae Young is still out for Atlanta, so I don't quite understand the line here. It looks like Grayson Allen and Jalen Green both out for the Suns here, though. Green, I mean, he's a guy that he hasn't really played much for them this year. He was the key part of the Durant trade for them, but he just hasn't really been healthy, so I don't know if that's a huge factor as far as the line moving around game to game or as far as the team having like chemistry shifts game to game, but I don't want to touch that game. I will give out a play in this final game here, though, which is going to be Utah plus the points. I'm going back to Utah. I don't like the spot here for the Bulls, really. The Bulls are on the road. I know they've lost 4 games in a row. They've lost to good teams, but also they played tough opponents here, man. Milwaukee, Cleveland, and they played Cleveland within 6, both those games on the road on a back-to-back. They only had 1 day off, and they came back home and played San Antonio tough. Then they went back out on the road a couple days after that, and they played Detroit. That was a big game, too, where Detroit got yeah, Detroit got a little bit of revenge against the Bulls in that one. That was a play where I gave out Detroit in that one. So that was for the Bulls, that was the reverse injured player spot there. I think Giddey came back in the game. But Cunningham was definitely out for Detroit. Let me see. Did Giddey come back in this game or did he not? No, he actually didn't. That's even better then because I think Giddey is going to come back in this game. So this is a reverse injured player spot now for the Bulls if Giddey is coming back here. He's a game time decision. Let's see. He's probable. So there we go, man. So this becomes a reverse injured player spot here for Chicago. So I like it even more. So that means Chicago's going to be a little bit more overvalued because their star player is coming back. And that means they might, they might ease up a little bit as far as their intensity. Plus, they also have to play Denver tomorrow. So this does look like kind of a sandwich spot because they were in that game against Detroit, too. They played pretty well against Detroit in that game. It was close for a while until Detroit pulled away at the end. So this looks like a sandwich spot. They're having to go from Detroit into elevation. I know having a bunch of time off should kill their losing momentum at least and maybe help them out a little bit. But looking ahead to Denver, man, and the fact that Giddey is coming back here, which might throw their chemistry off a little bit and whatever. I like Utah in this one. And Utah, they've been all right even without Kessler. I mean, they've had some moments where they've played all right. I mean, they played competitively on Monday against Minnesota, and then they won in a ridiculous blowout against Indiana. But now they're coming off a loss to Atlanta. Now, they've had multiple days off, too. So, they're going to be a pretty rested team as well, and they're staying at home. So the spot, to me, sets up better for them. Even though they do have L.A. coming up next, I don't think they're going to overlook Chicago. Utah, below 500 team, probably not really going to overlook anybody. Coming off a double-digit loss to Atlanta without Trae Young. Pretty ugly. So the spot, to me, sets up better for Utah. Bulls are very public. 90% of the tickets, only 52% of the cash on them. So the money seems to be agreeing with me on this one. Bulls up from 4.5 to 5. Yeah, I would take the points with Utah in that one, and that would be my final play. Once again, all the plays today. Washington, Redskins plus the 2.5. It never hit 3, but I don't know what's going on in the game, and I don't want to know. So hopefully we do get a win on that. We do have the Titans plus the 6. Giants plus 7. Dallas minus 3.5 will be tomorrow, though. So might be able to get 3 on that. We'll see. Don't know if you get 7.5 on the Giants or not, but college basketball, UMBC minus the points. Central Arkansas plus the points. UMass-Lowell plus the points. UMass minus the points, UNLV plus the points, Mount St. Mary's plus the points, and Akron plus the points. It's unbelievable how many of these situations I like, but I like all of them. And then in NBA, Orlando, which I'm a little bit hesitant now about that one, knowing that it's Banchero's second game out, but I still like how it sets up, and Utah plus the points, and that's going to be the card today, man. I know it's big. I think it's 13 plays on a Sunday. Usually is not something that we have, but crazy college basketball. Let's get it done. Oh, and I forgot. Let's do the final market read in the NFL real quick here. Washington's winning right now. Hey, come on, man. Get me some Mariota points, too. I don't want to celebrate, though. But the market read still wound up on Washington in that game, just so you know. You can see the cash percentage being less on the Dolphins. Market read still looks like more of the cash, or less of it, is on the Packers, I should say. More of the actual money on the Giants. So we'll agree with that one. You might be able to get 7.5 on it now. It looks like it is 7 with juice. So obviously I would do that if you haven't played it yet. The market read is saying to take the Buccaneers against the Bills, but I just don't agree with that one, man. So I don't know. That might be the one where I disagree with the market here. I might still stick with the Bills in my picks. Market read is still saying Bengals. I do agree with that. Market read is still saying Tennessee. Obviously, I agree with that. Never going to hit 7, though. Market read is still saying the Vikings. I do agree with that for now as well. The market read is still saying the Panthers. I'll give an agreement on that as well. Market read is still saying the Jags. Agree on that. Is still saying the Rams. I agree on that as well. Still saying the Cardinals. I also agree on that. Still saying the Browns. I also agree with that. Still saying the Chiefs, who are all the way up to 4.5. I agree with that, but I just don't think I would want to lay that many points with them, but generally I do still agree with that one on the Chiefs. And then in the night game, the market read is still saying the Eagles, which I also agree with. And Monday still saying Cowboys for now. So I agree with all the market reads except for the Buffalo game. So that's going to do it. Learn to Toad on Twitter. Learn to Toad on Instagram. Like, subscribe to the channel here. Give me some good comments. Listen and give me a good review on audio on Spotify and Apple. That helps me out as well. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it all. Covered in Uke is my Uke channel on YouTube, so you can check out my Uke cover content. It's also on Twitter and patreon.com/learntotode. Throw me some support. I know haven't been keeping that up to date there with the Uke covers. My voice has been bad, though, so I've only really done a couple recently, so I'll get it up to date again. That's going to do it. Let's get some wins today. Thank you, guys, and peace for now.